Hello, my 1A runners. And I call you that because certainly one of the traits of Fast Track is that it's very much a hit the ground running type of thing. But I know that you guys will be able to hang in there. I'm rooting for you. I know that you will start strong and finish strong in this 8-week race here. So the reason I'm mentioning that is because, as you can see from our syllabus, we have our first essay and the brainstorm. So that's what we're going to be covering throughout this video here. Let me go to float on top. Close my window as well. All right. So let's go into our Canvas page and be so kind as to click this page that says Pandemic Essay Particularities. So first thing, let's go ahead and download the prompt. This is our first essay. Ooh, look at that picture. Pandemic essay. 2020, and I would include even the start of 2021, it's still a bit rough. 2020 has been a difficult year for many of us. One of the more prominent events is the worldwide pandemic that we're currently experiencing. Because of this, our lives have changed in many ways. In fact, it's even quite probable that some of these changes have gone under our radar. Just like with any change in life, these can take the shape of both gains and losses. This essay is a gift from me to you to take a moment to take stock and notice more deeply just how your life has changed as a result of our current pandemic. Here's your task. Write an essay where you answer this central question. How has your life changed as a result of this pandemic? Here's some guiding questions. When I was a student, I always loved it when teachers, rather than just saying, here is the central question, go forth and conquer. I always liked having little guiding questions to help move my thinking. So here's mine. What have been your gains? What have been your losses? Have you had more gains or more losses? Explain. If you have obtained some gains, would you have been able to achieve those without the pandemic? And then, of course, if there's any other questions that you'd like to ask yourself in relation to being able to answer this central this central writerly project, this question is here. How has your life changed as a result of this pandemic? And we'll have more opportunities to write if you have more questions that you'd like to ask yourself in our brainstorm. Here's the format requirements. So MLA, just like we've been covering throughout this module, and that's 1-inch margins all around, Times New Roman or Arial, 12-point font, double spaced, works cited page if you do bring in some outside sources. So a minimum of at least 3.5 full pages. Here's a distribution of points. The essay itself is 100. The period workshop, which we're going to have, is 20. And following correct MLA and works cited page will be 5. Here are the important dates. As you can see, the brainstorm is coming up at the end of this module. So next Sunday, March 28th. The workshop, what that's going to be is that so next week we're having it. I believe the 31st will be on Wednesday. Then you're going to be responsible for having your rough draft, and I'll explain the particularities of how we're going to do our peer review workshop for next week, but just have this knowledge here. The final draft is going to be due April 4. So here we go. Here's the rubric. Strong papers will have the following traits. Content explicitly answers a central question of the thesis. So this is one of those cases where your thesis has to be a response to the central question of this paper, which is how has your life changed as a result of this pandemic? Second one is demonstrates clear, insightful, relevant, and deep critical thinking. Treatment of topic is thorough. Organization has a strong and engaging intro and conclusion. Organizes body paragraphs to all speak back and somehow support the central thesis. So that's important because everything within your body paragraphs, within all your essay, it has to point back to the thesis. The thesis, I like to view it as the skeleton, since it outlines the main points. Now, literally, a skeleton is just the outline of something, right? The body paragraphs are named that for a reason, because they literally add body, they add flesh, they expand on, they offer examples to what you've outlined in your skeleton, which is in your thesis. So yeah, so everything needs to speak back to your thesis, to your central response to this central question: how has your life changed as a result of this pandemic? Employed transitions, just as we saw in our grammar lesson, you need to make sure that you find a point of commonality between topic to topic, and that's both within paragraphs and even across paragraphs, right? From one paragraph to the next, you always want to create that bridge, right? The format mechanics, properly cite any outside sources, if any, in MLA format. So again, the importance of giving credit where credit is due, that's so important. Fewer no errors in spelling, punctuation, grammar, or format. So make sure to proofread before submitting your final draft, right? And also utilizing the help of our Success Center, of our writing tutors, having distinctive voice and appropriate point of view. So by its very nature, this is a narrative. So absolutely use first person point of view, because you're the primary source here, right? You're talking about how has your life changed as a result of this pandemic. And if you are bringing in other sources, make sure to cite them properly, right? All right, so that is our prompt. The next thing that you'll see in the pandemic essay particularities is the brainstorm, which is what is going to be due at the end of this module, which is going to be by Sunday. So let's go ahead and check that out. So download this. All right, I'm a fan of T-charts. So we have at the top our central question: how has your life changed as a result of this pandemic? Now, think for a moment. I'll use myself as an example. Okay, well, I haven't been... So the thing with brainstorming is that you really just get out your ideas, and it really starts your thinking, right? As you move towards writing your paper. Because this is the thing about writing, my friends, is that writing is a process. Always when you read this beautifully crafted text, you have to remember that the writer went through a process: brainstorming, outlining, the rough draft, the workshop, the final draft, right? So if I were to answer this, how has your life changed as a result of this pandemic? Well, I would say I have not been able to see my friends in a long time. I would say that's a loss. So I have not been able to see my friends in a long time. So I would say that's a loss. So after you respond to this question, then you're going to determine whether that falls in the column of gains or losses. I would say that another one that would actually fall in the column of gains is that I have had more time to study foreign languages. By the way, yeah, I'm currently taking lessons for French, Japanese, and German. This is one of those things that I was like, oh, if I had more time, then I'd be able to go harder at that, and now I'm able to. So, okay, so go through your thinking of how has your life changed as a result of this pandemic, and in addition to that, to help your thinking, like if you have some additional guiding questions, what are some other things that you would want to ask yourself that fall within this central question, within the expectations of this? How has your life changed as a result of the pandemic? Some students have been asking things like, have you learned anything? Have you become more lazy? Or so like, what are the things that you want to ask yourself? And then, like, for example, I'll do that. Have you learned anything new during this pandemic? And your response to them, like, I would say, yes, I have been studying new languages. So this is the section where you want to ask yourself some additional guiding questions that correspond to this larger category, this larger central question. How's your life changed as a result of this pandemic? This part's really important, which is your working thesis. Remember that a thesis has both identification, claim, and direction. So identification meaning your introduction of the topic. In this case, our topic is the pandemic. Your claim is what you're saying about the topic. In this case, your direct response to this, right? How has your life changed as a result of this pandemic? And then direction, which is where you give your primary examples, right? So that's going to be here. That's your working thesis. And yeah, if you want to have credit for this all, then make sure to fill this all in. So either if you type it out or if you write it out in pen, the assignment link for it is the subsequent thing that we're going to look at, which is here, the next thing on in our module. Just submit it in here. Make sure to first convert it into docx, or PDF. If you do write it out in pen, then you can scan that, or yeah, just scan it, or take a picture as long as it's clear, and format it into one of these docx or PDF. All right, next thing, guys, I always loved as a student when I would have student sample essays for any given paper, and I have just that here. There's 3 anonymous student sample essays for you to get an idea of what a potential iteration of this assignment could look like. And that is our assignment, my friend. So the first thing that you need to be working on is the brainstorm, and that's going to be due by Sunday. Like I said, it's Fast Track is one of those hit the ground running things, but my runners, I am rooting for you. Remain strong, and I'm here to help. If you want to schedule a Zoom meeting, if you have any questions, please let me know. So that's our first essay, and I look forward to reading your brainstorm. All right, see you guys.